Let's move on. Barb, will you introduce our speaker? I think he's in space somewhere.
Zoom. But we had a guest sneak in just beforehand. Tina Allen, good friend of Jen's and mine. So welcome to Tina. So this young man in the center, Romello Kalani, welcome. I went down to a Rotary meeting in Jacksonville and he was the guest speaker there. So that was a really powerful meeting. And he's talking about a subject that we all want to know about, cryptocurrency. Romello is born and raised in Jacksonville. He's a graduate of UNF with a bachelor's and master's in accounting. He works at, where'd he go? Oh, when he starts speaking, okay. So he's working for Nemours right now in the financial accounting department. The best part about him is in the Navy Reserves. That's great, go Navy. And he volunteers as the PD chair for the Town Center Rotary and also a member of the River Club. Please welcome Romello Kalani.
We're good now.
Okay.
Brian, can you minimize the picture on the side?
Yeah. Can you hear your name?
Yeah. You should be good now.
We can hear you good now. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right, thanks. Can you guys see my screen? All right, cool. Sorry about that. All right, so let's begin. So just a quick disclaimer. This is not financial advice. This is just my opinion. This is really just a brief overview of understanding this market, right? This is a new asset class. I like to call it crypto asset instead of cryptocurrency because it's technically defined as property. So this is just an understanding, and you'll understand why we call it the people's currency. So I always like to start off with a quote in my presentation because, you know, history repeats itself. So if you're familiar with history, you know about the Rothschilds, right? This is one of the founders, Meyer, and he basically said, you know, let me issue and control a nation's money, and I care not who writes the laws, right? So if we think about today, right, we think of the Federal Reserve with their inflationary policies of money printing actually right now. You know, another $3 trillion package is about to, you know, more than likely get signed, and then therefore the value of the dollar is going to continue to increase while we see an increase in prices, i.e. called inflation, right? We're actually seeing that right now, you know, with food and gas and any type of commodity right now. We're seeing those, you know, inflation prices rise. And honestly, inflation is just another, you know, tax on the individual. So always like visuals. My presentations, I like to keep it short and brief because I like to have this more of a discussion and more of an opportunity to talk. As you can see right here, this is really a snapshot of the dollar index. So if you do any type of trading, you know what this is. So basically this shows you the value or the strength of the dollar, right? Your purchasing power as an individual. So back in 1986, as you can see, when Reagan was in office, you can see the peak of the dollar. So $123 got you far. And then as you can see over time, we can see currently that the value of the dollar has been decreasing about roughly 30 to 40% throughout the decades. And I'm pretty sure at this point, it's maybe down to 84, right? And if this another stimulus package gets signed, right, we're going to see this dollar decrease even more and more. So really the objectives right now is getting understanding the markets, the purpose of this, the use cases, because I like to invest into things I can understand, right? I'm not just going to invest into something that I have no idea and then hope, you know, it's going to skyrocket, right? That's called gambling, right? There's a huge difference between investing and gambling, as you know. And then really, you know, storing your wealth, right? With anything, we want to protect ourselves, whether that's through insurance, through an LLC, through a corporation. We always want to protect ourselves, right? So yeah. So a brief history about Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin is the original currency. I'm pretty sure if you've heard of Bitcoin, you probably heard it from someone, right? So originally, what's called a white paper. Basically, a white paper is basically just a summary or synopsis, maybe an abstract of the purpose of it, right? So this was released back in 2008, right? It's kind of coincidental, right? We just had the financial crash of 2008, and this white paper was released. The author's name is Satoshi Nakamoto, and of course, no one knows who Satoshi is. Could be, an entity, could be someone, we don't know. And later on, maybe 4 or 5 years later, the first altcoin was released, which we call Ethereum, right? So those are the big two coins people more than likely know about is Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? And basically the definition of an altcoin is anything other than Bitcoin, right? So whenever you're trying to research a coin or understand it, right, everything comes back to Bitcoin, right? Because this is what we call the Bitcoin dominance, right? So if Bitcoin has a huge up rally, right, let's say it goes from 48,000 to 52,000, more than likely coins that are correlated with Bitcoin are going to skyrocket as well, and vice versa. There are some coins that, whether Bitcoin goes up or down, they're still going to outperform Bitcoin, right? And one of those is Ethereum as well. So as the Bitcoin dominance decreases, right, other altcoins are going to increase. And what we like to call in this space is called altcoin season. Basically, I can invest into an altcoin. They may be worth, 30 cents. It goes to 60 cents. But because I bought it at 30 cents, I probably bought, 2,000 coins, it skyrocketed and I got like a 5X on my money, right? That's the beauty about altcoins. And not only altcoins are cheap, but they serve a long-term purpose depending what coin you buy. And we'll get into that as well. So these are three coins, me personally, again, that's just my opinion, that I think are going to serve, the consumer well in the future, right? The first is XRP, right? So XRP is based off the Ripple protocol. And basically what this solves the problem of what's called the SWIFT system, right? So as you know, in 1946, the SWIFT system was created. Basically, that's the legacy system we use today of how to transfer money via either Western Union or MoneyGram in such case, right? So XRP solves that system, right? So instead of me sending money to, let's say, Western Union, I'll go up to Publix, I send me, let's say, $100 to someone overseas, right? So not only do I have to pay a fee, and that fee can be expensive, I also have to, make sure that everything's correct. And three, it's not going to be instantaneous, right? It's going to take maybe, I don't know, 3 to 5 business days, let's just say. The XRP solves that case, right? XRP, you're able to send, let's say $100 over to see someone in a matter of seconds. And on top of that, you may incur a fee little to none, right? So that's what solves the old legacy system, as I like to call it, right? The second thing is called Chainlink, right? So Chainlink is basically, it's part of the decentralized finance, which I'll get into later. And it's also talking about, smart Oracle contracts. And what that is basically saying like, you order, let's say 50 ribeyes, right? I like a good ribeye. And, that 50 ribeye gets put on a smart contract. It gets sent to someone. It can't be modified. It can't be messed with, right? It gets spent on this open ledger system and it gets sent to that respective party. That respective party verifies, okay, I received 50, ribeyes, and then the contract is ended, right? That's the beauty of it, right? So, back in the old day, you can, say you have 50 ribeyes, but you might skim something off the top and then no one knows what happened to it. But with smart contracts, you can't manipulate it, right? Once it's on the contract and on the open ledger system, it's there, right? So that's the beauty of it as well. So there's no fraud, there's no theft, there's no, skimming, there's no, kickbacks or any of that nature. And really the last one, which I'm excited for, is what's called VeChain, right? So VeChain is basically supply chain management, right? And, I was looking to this coin way before, the whole pandemic happened, but, it makes sense, right? Supply chain can be very critical to infrastructure and to businesses, for anyone in this chat or in the room, that, if you run a business, supply chain is essential, right? Because you want to make sure you have enough goods, you have enough product to sell to your customers so you can make, a profit. So, VeChain solves that problem. And in addition, they're partnering with, companies like Salesforce. Everybody knows Salesforce. Salesforce is a great company with CRM management. So, feed chain is also as well. And we're going to see down the road, right, as, food hopefully does not become scarce, right? We're going to see feed chain step in and basically say, hey, we're going to allocate efficiently, 1,000 eggs to, X, Y, and Z. I'm going to stop right there if anyone had any questions. No? Okay.
Romello, this is John.
Hey, John.
Bitcoin, I think in my limited knowledge, I see Bitcoin as kind of just like digital gold and Ethereum as what it's backed by it's got a different backing than Bitcoin. And your comment before about as Bitcoin as Bitcoin drops, something like Ethereum would increase. Am I catching that right?
Right. I'll take a step back. So Bitcoin, the whole purpose of Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer cashless system, right? So I don't need to give you $1 in person like you guys been doing, right? Instead, I say, hey, I need $1. I can just send you $1 worth of Bitcoin to you over, using a smartphone, just like that. The whole purpose of this, and we're actually starting to see this now, right? With some companies, because of the pandemic, everything, they're not accepting, dollars anymore because, of coin shortages and all that. But basically, that's a perfect example, right? So, instead of me saying, hey, can you send me $20, but you may be across the country, instead I can just say, hey, send me some Bitcoin and we'll do it as well. People do argue that is digital gold, but the problem with gold is I don't know how much it's supplied, right? I can tell you how much Bitcoin there is, right? There's 21 million Bitcoins. That's the fixed supply. It can't be hacked because it's very programmatic and it's very hard to hack, right? And I know that the use case, it's the inevitable, right? We're starting to see major institutions get involved, right? We're starting to see even Tom Brady get into Bitcoin, right? So we're starting to see the long-term intrinsic value on this as well. To answer your other point about Ethereum, right? So Ethereum, so Bitcoin's here and then Ethereum's here, right? So under Ethereum, you have all these under coins that still use the Ethereum network, right? But they've also created other coins that are allowed to what's called layer 2 scaling, right? So one of the biggest problems about Ethereum is really number one is what's called gas fees, right? So think of gas fees as like a transaction fee, right? So like, whenever you buy something, let's say, it's like a tax, right? You get paid 7.5% sales tax on it. That's with Ethereum, right? So, I've seen Ethereum gas fees go from like $1 to like, I think $360 right now, right? Because the price of Ethereum right now is $4,000. So everything is built on the Ethereum network. There are plenty of coins out there that are going to change not only the regulatory sector, but also technology sector as well, which we'll get into. And then really, once Bitcoin, what's called the Bitcoin dominance goes down, right? Let's say Bitcoin dominance is at 80%, right? So once that reaches a certain level, let's say 50%, right? We're starting to see an increase of altcoin prices go up, right? It's more of an inverse correlation, if that makes sense.
I guess, and as a follow-up, do you see the US or globally there being a single currency, a single digital currency to take the place of dollars?
Yeah, so everyone's talking about this too, right? So what we're seeing right now is we're seeing other countries create their own what's called CBDC, which is their central bank digital currency or a central bank digital currency. So we're seeing China starting to do this. We're starting to see some countries in Europe doing this. So two things can happen, right? One, these countries create their own digital currency, right? To really stop inflation from happening, quote unquote. But also to get away from the dollar as well, right? The dollar's reserve currency status has been around for about 240 years. The average currency of a country is about 215 years, right? So me and my co-author Brian, we created an actual ebook called Money, the Currency of Illusion, and basically talks about the inception of money and why it was why were dollars and coins being printed, right? And then we're currently writing a book right now on crypto for people to understand the basics of this. Right now, the Treasury and the Fed, they're trying to create their own digital dollar. They're trying to create their own CBDC. But that just tells me, that makes me happy, because that tells me that, they're kind of threatened by this, right? Because you're essentially having a coin that has only been in existence for about 11 years or so coming in and disrupt the financial markets, right? Remember I talked about the legacy system, right? It's been around since 1946, right? So imagine you're the treasury and then you have this thing called Bitcoin. Basically, people are, instead of putting their money into the banks, central banks, right? Because I think there's like 12 or 13 of them, and then they're taking it out and putting it into, Bitcoin, right? So obviously that's going to raise some eyes. That's going to get some regulation authorities in there. So I think that's what's going to happen. Either people are going to go away from the dollar, or we're going to see a coexistence between, a digital dollar, USD, and then Bitcoin as well. That's my opinion.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions in here? Romello, can you take off the screen share?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he said questions. Did you want to continue, or were you ready for questions?
No, I was going to continue. I always wanted to, I know that was a lot of information that I was putting out, so I wanted to make sure everyone kind of understands before I go further.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So really the last thing I want to talk about is very important. It's called no keys, no cheese. I didn't create it, unfortunately, but it's a good quote. So remember when I talked about storing your wealth, right? So you got to understand that with crypto, right? It could be subject to hacking, right? Because it's a program, right? Bitcoin you can't hack. It's virtually impossible. But other coins it could be. So this is what I'm talking about as far as keys, right? So really I have 4 rules, right? Number 1 is never leave your crypto on an exchange, right? So that could be, Binance or Kraken, could be Coinbase Pro, right? You don't never want to leave your money out on an exchange, right? Because it can be subject to hacking, right? The second thing is either use cold storage, digital wallets, or offline, right? So let me break this down. So cold storage is that you give your crypto to an institution and they take it offline, right? That's cold storage. Digital wallets is an example of like Exodus, right? So I sign in, there's a digital wallet. I can also have an app on it and it's safe, right? And then also what's called offline. If you want like Fort Knox security, what you can do is buy what's called a ledger or a Trezor. And basically you upload your crypto onto this, what's called a wallet, and ledger looks like a USB and it's completely offline, right? It can only be activated when you plug it in and you enter your, your code or your seed phrase, right? And basically a seed phrase is basically, it's usually about 12 words. So at any point, if the your ledger gets broken or something happens, right, you have the seed phrase with you, so you can recover your wallet, and you can get all your crypto back. But keep in mind though, if you lose that seed phrase, you can't ever access your crypto again. That's one of the downfalls of being in this space. And actually that's number 3. And then really number 4 is using reputable exchanges, right? So, Coinbase, I'm pretty sure people know Coinbase now because they just got listed on the stock market, right? So you want to use reputable exchanges like that. I know Coinbase, I know, Binance, I know Kraken, right? I know these exchanges versus, something like Bitmart or something like that. So that's the 4 things I would say to use. And again, these are some of the sources I would look into. And of course, I can send, Barbara a couple other sources that I've been using personally. But yeah, my presentations are short. If you guys have any questions, maybe you guys want to talk more about decentralized finance, more about how to create passive income, just let me know.
Any questions? Barb?
Set up. So when I met Romello down in Jacksonville, I said, well, how do you get the money out of your Bitcoin wallet? You said there's Bitcoin ATMs down in Jacksonville, correct?
Yes.
Amazing. Amazing. Next poll.
Roger.
Just a general question about what actually drives the valuation. I understand bonds and investing in a bond, and that turns into a return on investment based on something, but why does cryptocurrency have a upside valuation?
Yeah, sure. So there's this thing called the stock to flow ratio, which basically tracks the prices of Bitcoin. And I can also send that chart as well to you. So basically it just shows that the continuation of price over the years, right? And you naturally you see what's called a staircase pattern, right? Another thing I want to talk about is Bitcoin is programmatic, right? There's only 21 million fixed supply, right? But every 4 years you have this thing what's called the halving, right? So it can go from 12 Bitcoin get mined every day down to 6.25. So we just had our last halving 4 years ago. So the next halving is going to be in 2024, right? So when this happens, right, the supply gets cut in half, right? So anything is when you have less supply, the demand increases, right? So we already know Bitcoin's programmatic, right? I can tell you what's going to happen in the near future versus, trying to figure out, okay, when's the price of gold going to go up or down, right? So that's really the beauty of understanding Bitcoin is because we can predict the future based on the analytics that we have, right? And really, like I said, we're seeing major institutions, we're seeing Morgan Stanley, we're seeing Chase. We're seeing these organizations about literally 4 or 5 years ago, back in 2017, basically saying Bitcoin is a scam, it's never going to work. But yet all of a sudden we're seeing these institutions hopping on the Bitcoin train. We're also seeing professional athletes. Trevor Lawrence, he literally just got paid in Bitcoin, his whole salary. We're seeing, I forgot his name. I think he plays with the Chargers now. He's getting paid in Bitcoin. Russell Okung, he's getting paid in Bitcoin. So that tells you right there, people want a hedge against inflation and more so the dollar right now, just because of the whole spending that's happening right now.
Great, great. Anyone else?
Yes.
Mello, we thank you. Oh, Caroline, hang on.
Yes. A very basic question. You say that you can go to an ATM to get your Bitcoin. What exactly do you get?
So yeah, so you get your Bitcoin. So basically, let's say, I don't know, let's say you have your Bitcoin wallet, $20, right? You can send your $20 worth of Bitcoin to this ATM and you can get cash out, USD. That's a Bitcoin ATM.
I see. Okay, so
Yeah.
basically what you have is you have your wallet somewhere in the universe, and then you go to the ATM and convert that into cash.
Exactly. And the beauty about it is, cash is stagnant, right? $20 is $20, right? So if I bought $20 yesterday and the Bitcoin prices increase, now I can pull out 40 just like that. That's the
Okay.
beauty of it.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Romello.
Thank you.